is complicated.
It is a complicated thing.
You know what else is complicated? Album review discussions by Secret House Against the World. And that's us. Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture bullshit. You guys recognize all of us, hopefully. And if it's your first time to the channel, consider hitting the like, subscribe, and maybe even join the Patreon. We've got a nice growing list of people who are rocking with the content. And we appreciate all of you. Go into the comments, tell us what you think about all these albums and whatnot. If you're watching this, you'll be aware that we're about to talk about Paris, Texas, their debut album.
This is debut?
They have a thing
They
called
had like a
Boy Anonymous. I don't know if that's an album or a tape.
I thought it was like a mixtape, but
I feel like
yeah,
Midair is like a full
Midair
album
debut and or solo sophomore rather. 16 songs, 50 minutes. It just released this month, July 21st. Paris, Texas is a duo from California consisting of Louie Pastel and Felix. I think Louie,
Felix.
I think Louie is a producer and rapper, and Felix just does vocals and stuff. But yeah, I am not. Do I usually say something more about that?
I mean, you don't
A
know.
little bit lost.
Familiarity.
We just talked about the new No Name album for about an hour and a half.
half,
So, okay, yeah, they are some young folks from California, and this is my first time getting to their music. We were suggested this album by multiple people in the comments, some people whose opinions we really respect, and I had stumbled across it myself, and I was like, all right, well, this is interesting enough to do. Let's go ahead and get into it. How do you guys know about Paris, Texas?
I'll make it quick. I didn't know until you put it in the group chat.
Okay,
Yeah, I've
listen
heard
to
the name
this.
before, but no.
Okay.
Because I thought the name was dope. The name's dope.
Yeah.
I know it is a real place.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paris,
I
Texas.
like, y'all know the South? What y'all know about Paris, Texas?
Name's hard.
Yeah.
Name is hard.
Yeah, I lived in Texas for a few years myself, but not close to Paris. Yeah, so I like the album cover a lot too, and I was like, yeah, let's just do it. That shit seems all right, midair.
There's a Paris,
So-
Tennessee, too, by the way.
What's that?
It's a Paris, Tennessee, too.
Okay, there's a Paris, California too. I mean, Paris be all over the place. Petty.
Paris.
I
Yeah.
heard there's a Paris in France also.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, where? See, I don't know geography. We Americans. All right, but anyways, yeah. What do you guys think about this album? Who wants to get into it first? I think Spade, you have the most glowing review of it. Is that accurate?
Well, what did you guys think? Y'all didn't like it?
Okay. Well, no. It didn't stick for me. I don't want to start off a review negatively, but I think that the album is interesting. I think it really exemplifies some of like the Zoomer youth and the sentiment that they're rapping about, kind of an internet anti-epicenter amalgam of sounds from a variety of different music places, wide-ranging influences that are clearly worn on their shoulders. There's a kind of mix of neoliberal angst, revenge fantasy, a lot of ops and opposition from a variety of haters. I think the influences, I think the influences that they're taking from are largely just better at doing it than they are, but I kind of appreciate the amalgam that they're going for. But I've started about 6 or 7 songs and I started to realize that I am not the demographic for this, and I found a lot of it to be like almost creative to me. It sounds like so many other things that I've heard elsewhere, but just thrown together. And I think it might have been a little bit more interesting to me if the lyrics were a bit more interesting. But I found the kind of repeated phrasing of some of the things they're talking about, much of the content was just not really hitting for me at all. Some of it, this sounds like music that you would see performed at perhaps a festival with backing vocals and a mosh pit going on, and that's not necessarily my vibe. It reminds me a lot of my 14-year-old nephew in California. I think that this is something up his alley. I think that there's a lot of people that really probably enjoy this that don't listen to some of the influences that kind of they try to create an assemblage of. I'm going to give this album no, I'm just kidding. I didn't watch the Fantano review. Jet just told me about it, but I'm imagining maybe he said some of the similar things. This album reminds me of a lot of their influences. It's like I was never big into Brockhampton, and this kind of reminds me a bit of Brockhampton. It reminds me a bit of a fair amount of things that I feel like are ultimately nothing burgers to me. Yeah. So, what do you think, Spade? Maybe we'll split up because I think.
I honestly don't care for it. There's a lot of moments on here I really like. Every now and then something will happen, like something, I like, for example, I don't like the track New Whip, but I really like how it goes into Panic.
Yeah.
It's like the same key and they kind of blend into each other, and there's like a bit of a, like, I can imagine if you were at the show and you're like moshing to New Whip and then those opening chords from Panic came on, there would be this moment of like, oh shit, and like mass tension release that would work really, really well and would probably go like crazy.
The sequencing on is actually
well
decent
sequenced
in the first half. I think there's a few tracks that go into each other really well.
There's
the album starts strong. 1037
really
is really dope, and it blends right into split screen. I kind of like the trappy, hard electronic vibe. It starts off, it sounds like some post-punk type of shit and kind of yelling black youth shit. Who want to rock, who want to roll, who want to die. I'm like, word. I'll rock and roll.
Maybe my issue with this record is that while it does pull from a lot of genre influences, it's not really like full-throated in any of its approaches. For example, and this is pretty rare, but I really didn't like the mix on it. I felt like it's like over compressed. I wish the guitars were crunchier. I wish things hit a little harder. It's like loud but it's very like it's like they threw a compressor on top of the whole thing, and it felt kind of flat to me. I really wish there was a bit more like oomph to it. I wish the drums were punchier. I wish it was edgier. It's very easy to liken to to reel off a few names in terms of this kind of rocky hip hop stuff. I was thinking of Youth Forever or Dropout Kings, for example.
Kings, baby.
Or
some of the rap sounds like SOB RBE shit, like Bay Area shit,
And I think I would rather listen to most of those other influences, if they are influences. Crime Kills also came to mind. That first track sounds a lot like Crime Kills. That's
even Kenny Mason's work sounds kind of comparable to this in a way, and
Tizo
Touchdown. I like Kenny Mason's verse better than any of the verses on the album.
Okay.
Go off, Spade, because we're
I don't want to be like a bunch of negativity.
Yeah, I don't like to do that.
First, let me say, I'm gonna validate all you guys' feelings. You don't need my validation, but all your critiques are really valid. So, I mean, a lot of people on this show, I have gleaned from the comments, you are really into lyricism, lyrics, and complex themes in your rap. Let me tell you something, buddy. Where I'm from, the South, that ain't what it is, man. We're into mood music, right? Mood music. Music that sets the mood and gets the vibe and builds up an anger. Like, where I'm from, 3-6 Mafia, 8 Ball, MJG, who are lyricists, but still mute music. Tommy Wright III. Like, that is the antithesis of funk. Like, funk came from that, right?
Sure.
So, that is one part. Also, something you don't know about me. I'm a metalhead. I play drums. I played drums in a metal band for 5 years. I love metal. This is a mesh of both of those things. So yes. I found this whole thing just pleasantly delightful to listen to. It was so nostalgic for me. It was a combination of snappy hooks that run you in there. It was like Lil Jon and the East Side Boys mixed with Slipknot. Also, it's a through line to a lot of metal people. Like I
don't really rock with that.
So I'm with you. Yeah. But again, this is where I find the lack of like full-throatedness, the lack of committedness to that bit. If you listen to like Playboy Carti, right? Jump out the house, jump out the house, jump out the house. Like, it's got that same, like, all right, here's the one thing. We're going to set a mood. We're going to do this again and again. And I think it distills it better. Whereas on here, like, the opening track, 1037, like, who want to rock? Who want to roll? Get in the pit. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And I was kind of like a bit like...
By the time you get to, with my London bitch, it just gets a little bit uninteresting.
Okay, I think you guys have been a little harsh on these guys in their first album, right? Give them time to grow.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for.
The presentation, I liked it. I like what you're doing. And I disagree with you a little bit on the mix. I think the mix could have dealt with some more edge and some more forward instrumentation. But overall, I think the use of distortion, did bring out the album and gave it that nice rock feel. Also,
Yeah.
I think there's a through line with a lot of rock and metal. Like a lot of y'all probably get mad when I say this, but a lot of your prominent rock bands and metal bands don't have good lead singers. People who can't sing.
No, yeah,
like
true.
Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten can't sing. My favorite band, System of a Down, Surge can't sing. He's garbage. David Lee Roth, garbage. Not a good singer, right? But it's that whole vibe encapsulating the voice and the mood and setting that vibe. Yeah. Now I think this album is a good vibe setter. For what it is, it's a damn good album. Something you can put on in the gym, vibe out to. Yeah. It's mindless. It's not for old people like me, but it's
me apparently.
But it's something that I can see kind of similar to me when I used to listen to 3 6 Mafia back in the 90s and 2000, sure. Man. This is like something for you kids now. This is, and it pulls from a lot of different things. Like you said, Dropout Kings. I would dare not put this next to the Dropout King. Dropout King is way better than this. Y'all need to put out
That's
a new
what
album.
I feel about all of the similarities.
Well, that's the thing, though. It
artists,
is, but they're young guys, right? So, of course, they aping from a lot
How
of
old
older
are they?
people.
I don't know how old they are, but I just imagine they were young because it has that very convergence culture type of approach to it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to shit on these guys because I don't think the music is bad. I just think that it's not for me. And I think that if I wanted to hear this type of aesthetic, even the driving, repeating, I just go elsewhere. One of the people in the comments was like, it reminds me of this, it reminds me of that, it reminds me of this. And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather listen to Peggy or Death Grips than this. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like the music is fine, the beat changes are fine, and those are cool. One of the things that kind of took me out of it is the kind of content didn't really like it just doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. And it's not that I don't like tear the club up type of shit or stuff that's not necessarily deep or academic or complex or whatever. It's just that at a certain point I'm just like, this like the themes of some of the things that they're saying. Number one, I don't believe them.
Yeah,
and
not
number
a lot of
two,
beat in the bone.
number one, I don't believe them when they're talking about like shooting the blicky, like I don't believe them for that. So that kind of makes me be like, ugh. And then another thing is just like, I don't really care what you guys are saying and how you're saying. It's not funny or interesting or poignant or even like witty in a funny way. Like with My London Bitch, I imagine that's supposed to be like a funny track, right? Like Cheerio with My London Bitch, Tesco with My London Bitch. All of these like London things, like cool, man. Maybe you guys took a trip to London. Congratulations. But it's nothing about that is like interesting to me, and it doesn't really make me want to turn up and lift at the gym either. And that's kind of like I feel like I'm a little bit in between with you guys here. Like I get like okay, and I get like okay. The mix also just, I thought it was like, I was thinking like, they're not playing instruments, are they?
It sounds like a good VST guitar.
Yeah, it sounds like
it is also a bit just like, it reminds me of those like, early 2000s new metal bands that weren't Linkin Park, where there was a lot of like very crunchy like guitars at the back that just kind of fit in little blocks. I'm going to try and step away from the negativity a little bit. So with Full English, with My London Bitch, like one thing I kind of liked about that track is that it gets so repetitive that if it had just gone in, and then the little synthy part's really good, it goes into the slow jam bit, Tizo Touchdown's great on there. But like if it'd been a bit more, if the album had more of that psychedelic, like headspacey, zony, like My London Bitch, like, where you're like getting pulled into this very like strange realm, I think I would have liked it more. I will say, to your comparisons to these vocalists who can't sing, your Johnny Rottens, your Serge Tankians, and Lil Jon, Playboy Carti, etc., is that those people are all big characters for me. I don't really know anything about the guys from Paris, Texas from this song. They're kind of just saying the tropes, but there were 2 tracks on here I really liked. So
I like more than 2.
I'll take
more than 2.
Well, there's two I really liked.
Okay,
songs that I would put on my like end of year, not like top 10 end of year, but my sort of songs I liked in 2023 playlist. There was Closed Caption, which I think was a little more personal, a little more interesting, and I think sonically, like the template's a little bit more interesting. The
vocals are kind of pitched down
a little bit. There's a little bit more weirdness going on there that I appreciate, and also Lana Del Rey, which if I squint sounds a little bit like TV on the radio to me.
Okay, no doubt.
And I love TV on the radio.
If I could, like, to not say something negative about it, I actually think that some of the things that they're doing here are kind of creative. They're kind of interesting. I like the way that they kind of there's an amalgam type of thing going on where they mix two genres or mix two
amalgamation
sounds
and joining together.
And I'm waiting for that to mature a little bit more and become something that I kind of like. And some of my favorite moments are the albums are when something is subverted by like an opposite, like on with my London bitch, right? With full English, when it turns into that little slow jam break right there, I'm like, oh, that's fucking dope. And they only do it for just a second, and then it goes back to some track, like some thrashy guitar or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. That's fun and that's dope. I just feel like there's fewer parts where I get their actual identity, and I'm getting like other things them trying to figure themselves out.
I don't get that. I actually see where they're coming from, what they're trying to do. I think you guys are really kind of being harsh on this, man. Especially,
I can't
probably.
say probably. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't like it.
I think y'all
I just
are
don't
not
like
giving
it.
like this room to breathe or it to kind of live. For a couple of guys that like Soul Glow, I'm kind of shocked that y'all wouldn't even like kind of like.
Bro, so the lyrics on Soul Glow are tremendously different. Than
okay,
this.
well I'm saying, but the
lyrical
vibe
element.
and the mix on Soul Glow was kind of like. Oh, now, okay, I'll put it like this: the instruments are forward on Soul Glow to get you more of that bounce.
Yes.
But like, this one is a little bit more pronounced. You can hear the vocals, so I was kind of weirded out.
But
I think
the thing with the Soul Glow for me is that it feels a lot more organic than this, and that is a choice. That is a stylistic choice. I'm not trying to say like this is good, this is not, because Soul Glow sounds like a real band playing, whereas this does not.
That's fair.
But I do find it a little bit like out of the box sounding, and just like it lacks. One thing that I like about Dropout Kings or Youth Forever is the fact that the synthesized and artificial elements blur so naturally with the instrumentation and the musicality of it,
and really good talented musicianship.
If this album, if the distortion on this album was a bit more psychedelic, a little bit, a little more effects on the guitars, like everything was just a little more out of focus even, I think I would have liked it more, rather than just kind of being like, this is here, this is a MIDI block that is here.
Well, if one guy made this whole album and produced this whole album, I think he did a damn good job in your way. I'm not gonna say because you don't play all the instruments. Look, if you're one producer, of course the musicality will be better. You have a live band off top, right? But overall, I think this album did what it's supposed to do. It hit the marks.
I can see why a lot of people would enjoy this album, and I was kind of surprised that I didn't. I'm not writing them off completely. It's kind of like a Decca thing. I'll go back and check it out and see if they kind of do more things. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they do, it's different than Decca. Decca's like saying much different things than they are. Maybe in their artistic trajectory they'll make something that I really enjoy. But there was just too many misses on this for me to really enjoy the things that I really liked about it. There are a few songs that I do like on this album that I will play again. I think it opens off pretty fucking hard, and I was like, ooh. I think the Kenny Mason track D&D is fucking great. I like the kind of more alt rock folky ending to Ain't No High and We Fall that are different in energy than some of the other tracks. Really, I feel like I might feel different about this album if they cut like 4 tracks, because it's just the trick, the magic trick that they're doing got a little old for me. I think if it was like if they cut like 4 tracks and it was a shorter listen, I'm like, the things that they're doing are interesting enough, and I'd like to see it grow, instead of me being like, it was a slog for me to listen to. For an album that's so upbeat and energetic, I really just felt like
I'm gonna play the Haters Gambit card. I wanted to like this album more than I do, because I do think that there's a lot of interesting components on this record, and I think if somebody explained this album to me, gave me a PowerPoint presentation on this album, like, all right, well, these are the various elements being approached. It's kind of like rough, and it's got like a bit of a sort of metal thing going on, but also it's got rapping. It's very forward. It's very party sounding. It's music for the pit. I'd be like, oh, tight. It evokes like Odd Future. It evokes Brockhampton, like,
it is
and
stuff
and stuff I like.
It's edgy, like it's edgy like
as well.
Shoot out the whip, shoot at the kid. Shoot out the
I
like. I
shoot
don't
at the
believe
bitch,
you're
yeah.
doing any of that shit.
And that's
Like
another thing,
whatsoever.
right?
Like,
Most of this is performative,
Yeah.
and like once again, I don't digest my music like that. I don't, back when Three Six Mafia was making like devil music back in the day, nobody really thought that. Well, some people did. I ain't gonna lie, some people did, but I take it for what it is, man. Once again, I don't feel like you should take anything a rapper says in general as the gospel, but. Unless it's no name, do that. But,
I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Shoot at the. Yeah,
but I feel you. It's not our age demographic, right? And like, once again, it's not a lot of meat on the bone on this guy. But for what you're doing in the demographics and the target, I think you guys.
It's
hit the
interesting.
mark.
It's interesting enough, and I hope to see them grow. I said the same thing about like the first Brockhampton album. I was like, this is interesting. Let's see where it grows. It didn't necessarily grow on me, and I wasn't made a fan, but I can see why people like it, appreciate it. And this is not music that I would hate on unless somebody started telling me why it was better than other things. That's the only reason I have to hate on it. I'm always going to. I hate to. When we review some of the artists that we review, for example, somebody with 10,000 monthly listeners, 5,000, less than that, I'd be less apt to be honest about my dislike for an album, because any person that's looking for that, I would like them to at least only focus on that and maybe help grow their artists, because at the end of the day, they're working, they're trying to put it out. These guys got a couple thousand more listeners, and I felt like I could be just a little bit honest.
Man, the social contract, the social contract any artist makes, when you put your music out there, you put it out there to be judged.
Yeah,
I put out music, and you can tell me my shit sucks. You know how many times I heard my shit sucks?
Yeah,
So nah, dog.
I just don't want to. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. If I don't like an album, I'd rather not review it than put out something negative about it.
I say let that shit fly.
Yeah, all publicity is good publicity in a way, but yeah, like these guys, they've got a huge following. I think the kids will be all right.
Yeah.
I think the
I like
music's
you guys.
good.
I like you.
I apologize if I come across as a bit of a hater, but I am. That's my.
Hey man, I'm glad you can take the role. Both of y'all can take the role.
Well, no, I mean this one's a miss for me, but like I absolutely support people being into this kind of music because it's interesting. And interesting, I've always said that an interesting failure is better than a boring success. I'm sure that like Jay-Z's next album is going to be a lot better than this, but I'd rather hang out with someone who's really into this. Like any day.
Kenny Mason says a good thing that is probably talking directly about me. A lot of y'all critics just some gold diggers. We got a Patreon. How can I respect any old opinion when I see you respect some hoe niggas? I might be a hoe nigga. It might be it. No, there's a few songs I like. Can I do my favorite songs on the album? All right. I like D&D. I like D&D with Kenny Mason. Kenny Mason's verse is my favorite on the album. I like Bullet Man. Felix's verse is pretty dope on that, even though I don't really care for shoot out the whip, shoot at the kid, shoot him up at the that's dope. And I also like, there's a few more songs that I like, but if I had to pick only 3, I'm going to pick Ain't No High. I think that I like the writing on the album. It's a bit less rappy. It's a bit more sing-songy, alt-rock sing-songy. And he's like, my brother has a bigger house than I do. And it kind of speaks to, I think it speaks to that youthful temperament of understanding that like they're working hard but still having less because of all these material conditions are fucked up. And he's just fucking vibing during the apocalypse. I get it. And I do, Or even 1037. That's a good opener to me. I thought it was fucking pretty. Yeah, I was getting turned up, and then I got turned down.
Closed caption, Lana Del Rey, and as a London bitch myself, I'm going with full English.
I started to write some Jed is going to be our London bitch type of jokes.
Yeah, I know, but
I was like, I don't want to do that.
I'm glad
They'll be calling
did.
me a bitch in the comments. It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, I like New Whip. I like Panic.
Big House.
And D&D.
Big Whip. Okay.
Now I'm gonna agree with you too, Mega. It did overstay as well after a while. Like if you would have cut this about 4 songs.
Some of the inspirations were just like too much. Like if you listen to Sean Jarrett, right? Like it's different sonically sounds different, but the beat also sounds like some SOB RBE shit. Like some real, even the flow is very Bay Area to the point where I was like, is this them? You know what I mean? Like it just the inspiration, like their influences are. Yeah, I don't know.
The flow could use some work. Yeah. I'm going to say it, but once again, I come from a long line of people who really ain't that lyrical and couldn't rap. Like in retrospect, looking back to some of the guys I listened to back in the day, I'm like, ooh, y'all was not good rappers, were you?
I mean, the reason we love Crunchy Black wasn't because he was a lyricist. It was because Crunchy ain't no fucking hoe. Get down on the flow. Bitch, I'll give you mo. Bitch,
All
I'll give you
I
mo.
know is where the G's at.
Yeah.
Where the trees at.
Fucking Crunchy Black is a top 10 hip hop name of all time. I will fight you.
Not no lyrics and stuff.
Crunchy Black. All right. Paris, Texas, Secret House Against the World, Tokyo Base. Hit the like, subscribe, figure it out. I promise that we're nice guys.
We're more positive than
I'm gonna tell y'all my Crunchy Black story off camera though.
Oh yeah. Okay. I've never met Crunchy. Dog.
Patreon exclusive.
I've met him
man.
a couple times. Let me tell you.
Okay.
It's always been his experience.
Yeah. Cheerio with my London bitch.
Keep doing your thing, guys.
Have a pint with my London bitch.
Hi, cranky.
On the left with my London bitch. Yeah. I don't know. Bye.